How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. A little bit different setup for me today. As you can tell, I am home. I was at that loss yesterday. Not the greatest game, not a terrible game though. So no pregame, no postgame show yesterday. I was pretty busy and we were all tuckered out, but today, we are back kicking off our Week 6 coverage. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning champs, the team that the Bears had an upset win over in 2020. We're going to be taking a look at the reigning champions led by Tom Brady, giving our thoughts on their team and discussing whether or not the Bears even have a chance in this game. Before we get into this one, I would like to say, wherever you are listening to this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, do us a favor, drop a like and subscribe. We're trying to bring you guys the most comprehensive Bears coverage on the web the entire season. I'm your host, Chris Maltby, today to talk about the Bucs. Week 7, we are already here, approaching the halfway point on the season. The Bears are 3-3. I am joined with my co-host, Parth Shaw. Parth, how's it going, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's just a Monday, so just trying to get to the routine. Got a long week ahead of us, so gotta stick to that schedule and stuff, and just busting out videos for you guys. Obviously, yesterday the Bears lost to the Packers. I guess we predicted it, but it definitely is not the best feeling to lose to Green Bay, especially when you see Aaron Rodgers make those comments.
We don't talk about that.
I don't want to get too into it because I will get heated and emotional for no reason. But let's just hope that the Bears can do that, or Justin can do that to the Packers in the future, because I was not happy about that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, tough one yesterday. I mean, a feeling Bears fans are so used to, but I mean, big week for you. I'm chilling, as you can tell. I'm back in Chicagoland on fall break here, so I'm guessing we're going to be able to pump out videos for you guys each and every day, maybe even some double uploads here and there, because there's definitely a lot to discuss surrounding this team. They're in a good spot at 3-3. This is probably where we expected them to be at this point, with the losses to the Rams, Browns, and Packers. Some tough games coming up, obviously, but some winnable games coming up. We've got San Francisco next week. That's a winnable game, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's jump into this and start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Bucs, man, coming into this game 5-1. They're 3-0 at home. ESPN's matchup predictor gives them an 81.4% chance to win this one, giving Chicago only an 18.4% chance. Taking a look at the spread, the Buccaneers are currently favorites by 13.5, predicted to win by 2 touchdowns, with the over-under set at 47 points. Taking a look at Tampa Bay offense, man, it's Tom freaking Brady. He's had a great year. They won the title last year because of him, even though the Bears were able to take him down. Shout out Nick Foles. But he's had quite the start to the year so far and is playing some incredible football. 183 for 267, 2,064 yards. He's got 17 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the season. Leading the way for rushing for Tampa Bay, Leonard Fournette, and I think we're seeing the best form of Fournette that we've ever seen. He had a great week last week against the Philadelphia Eagles and continues to come into his own. He's got 78 carries, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's also been a dominant force in terms of the receiving game. Leading the way for Tampa Bay's receiving core, Mike Evans, the number 1 receiver. He's been there for a while. They've got 3 great receivers, but Mike Evans has had a pretty good year. 31 receptions, 420 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns for him. Taking a look at Tampa Bay's offense statistically, they put up 32.5 points per game, averaging almost 450 total yards a game. Brady is averaging 350.8 passing yards a game. On the ground, even though Fournette has been pretty good, he's been more of a dominant force in the receiving game for them, but they're averaging 85.3 rushing yards per game. So, I mean, this Tampa Bay offense, man, it's basically unstoppable. Taking a look at who else they have below Brady, obviously Fournette, previously mentioned, Ronald Jones Jr. or Ronald Jones II. He's someone who's going to be definitely on the trade wire moving forward. They have Giovanni Bernard, who they've gotten incorporated really well, as well as the rookie from last year, who Kyle Fuller lit up when we played them, in Keshawn Vaughn. So not sure what to expect out of Ronald Jones, but Leonard Fournette has definitely earned that number 1 role for them. Below Mike Evans, you've got Chris Godwin, who is always a beast and has put up solid numbers this year. Antonio Brown in the slot, looking like a top 10 wide receiver in the league. They also have Tyler Johnson, the second-year wide receiver out of Minnesota, as well as Jaden Mickens. Taking a look at their tight end position, Rob Gronkowski should be an interesting one. He's got that rib injury, that situation he's got going on. We'll see if he returns this week, but they've gotten some pretty good play out of O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. I'm telling you, this Buccaneers team, offense and defense, is stacked wherever you look. Pretty solid offensive line for them as well. They've done a good job at protecting Brady. Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa, and Tristan Wirfs. And even though I'm an Iowa fan, I like to call him Khalil Mack's son from time to time. If you know, you know. But Parth, man, this offense is loaded all over the place. I don't know if you can describe this offense as much more than just a dominant force. They're going to brutally win any game and do whatever they can to stay in games, kind of like Kansas City, a team that'll just shoot you out of the park. And a lot of other teams right now, Buffalo Bills, Arizona Cardinals. This Buccaneers offense is up there with some of the best in the league, if not the top unit. So what do you think about what Tom Brady and the 5-1 Bucs have been able to achieve so far this season?
Tom Brady is quietly going to have one of his best years of his career at age 42.
Aging like fine wine.
Yeah,
it's like Dwayne Wade or something. He just gets better as he gets older. It's wild.
It's so wild. I mean, the way he already has 2,000 passing yards through 6 games. Let me tell you guys something. The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. This man's about to do it in 10 to 12 games at age 42. And the fact that he's doing it with 3 wide receivers with already over 400 yards in receiving. Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, all 3 already have over 400 yards. Brown and Evans both have 4 touchdowns. Godwin's got 2. And like you said, Chris, Leonard Fournette is finally finding his groove out in Tampa Bay. I think they're able to use him well, through his pass catching abilities. And, when Brady needs to take time off from throwing the ball, he's done a really good job at filling that gap, because Ronald Jones Jr. Ronald Jones II has definitely struggled for them. But Fournette,
you messed up the same way I did. For some reason, I thought it was Junior, and then I was like, wait.
I did too. Exactly. But, like you said, they got stars all over that offense. I didn't even mention Gronkowski, and we all know how good Gronk and Brady's connection is and has been for so long. So this team is definitely on pace for having another great year offensively. And it's outstanding with the way Brady's doing everything. Like you said, Chris, he's aging like fine wine. At this point, I just sound like a fanboy towards this Bucs offense. But, I mean, I wish the Bears had an explosive offense like this. I mean, just being able to pick apart defenses. It doesn't matter who's on what side, just because you trust your guys to go up and get the ball, and you trust your quarterback to make the right throws. And that's what they all rely on. And that's why they're a successful football team.
Yeah, the Bears defense did a pretty good job in week 6 at not essentially containing Aaron Rodgers, but stopping him from time to time, not letting him absolutely gash us, even though the score wasn't too indicative of that. But the Bears front 7 and the Bears secondary for sure is going to have their hands full this week, without a doubt. I think this is one of the only rosters in the league, when you look at it, where there are just stars all over the field. I mean, someone like Tyler Johnson, who's their 4th-string wide receiver, could come to Chicago or go to a multitude of other NFL teams and make quite the big impact as a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3. So this Tampa Bay team is super deep. It's also worth noting, as you mentioned, Rob Gronkowski was having a monstrous season before he ended up having those cracked ribs and all those issues he's having. So I'm not sure if we're going to see him this week. He's basically been indefinitely out for the past 2 weeks. But I really like how they're able to use Leonard Fournette. I'm worried about not the Bears against the run this week, but more so Chicago's ability to stop the pass, because they've been able to use him in a variety of ways in the passing game. He's kind of been Brady's dump down option when need be. So when a pass rush is coming that's as strong as the Bears, I expect Leonard Fournette to absolutely go crazy in this one. As well as someone like Antonio Brown. I think we've been fearing the Bears facing a really good slot receiver for quite some time. We saw the Packers last week moving Devontae Adams into the slot, using Allen Lazard all over the field. So Antonio Brown also just a player I think might gash this Bears defense in week 7. Let's move on to Tampa Bay's defense because it's a little bit of the tail of the tape here. They have not been performing so well, but still have a ton of impressive names defensively. They've been allowing 24 points per game on average, giving up 350 yards per game to opposing teams. They're allowing almost 300 total passing yards per game to opposing teams and 54.8 rushing yards allowed per game. So not sure if we're going to see Khalil Herbert or Damian Williams this week for the Bears. Obviously, Williams went down with COVID. Herbert, easily the best player on the Bears yesterday. 97 yards and a touchdown for him. Looks like his future in Chicago is bright, but this Tampa Bay defense has a lot of maulers, and they've been doing a great job at stopping the run. Passing game, we'll get to that a little bit later, but taking a look at their base 3-4 defense, they've got Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, who missed the game last year, and that was a really big loss. I believe he got hurt during the game, actually. William Golston, Jason Pierre-Paul, the best linebacking core in the league, in my opinion, with Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, Levante David, and Shaq Barrett. Those are some beasts. Levante David, I believe, is hurt, so we'll see where he stands. But the one place I could see Chicago possibly exploiting this Tampa Bay defense, and I'm a little bit worried about it because I expected them to do it last week, and they didn't do it at all against Green Bay, is the secondary. They are super banged up in the secondary. Curtis Riley, one of their strong safeties, is on IR. Antoine Winfield Jr. also hurt. Sean Murphy-Bunting, one of their best cornerbacks, on IR. Carlton Davis, one of their best cornerbacks, on IR. Richard Sherman went down with a hamstring injury last week. We're not sure what the situation's going to be like for him. So they've got Jamel Dean, who did have an interception and also led up a couple big plays last week against the Philadelphia Eagles at cornerback 1 for now. Also, Pierre Desir and Ross Cockrell are filling in there. But, man, Parth, this Tampa Bay secondary is as thin as it gets. I mean, we've seen the Bears the last couple of weeks face units with banged-up secondaries. The Lions without Jeff Okudah. The Raiders without Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnett. The Packers last week without Kevin King as well as Jair Alexander. But nothing really compares to how hurt this Buccaneers secondary is. And they've been allowing some teams to get close in some of these games. Once again, it's going to be a lot on Justin Fields to be able to not make those rookie mistakes that he's been making, getting the ball out quick, finding his playmakers. We've seen him be a little inconsistent, especially last week. I think he was continuing to progress from week 2 to week 5. And then last week, a little bit of an inconsistent game, but we're getting a little off track here. What do you think about this Buccaneers defense? And do you think Fields will be able to find some success against them?
I'd hope so. Like you said, this Bucs defense is struggling with a lot of injuries. They've lost a lot of their corners and safeties early on in the season. And last week, they lost Sherman, who was their starting corner coming into that game. And now they're down to guys who weren't expected to even start, maybe not even to make the training camp roster this year. And now here they are starting week 7. This is a perfect situation for the Bears to once again take advantage with Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. Last week, the Bears had the chance because the Packers were without their top 2 corners in Kevin King and Jair Alexander. We faced the Raiders 2 weeks ago, and they were without Damon Arnett. And the Bears still weren't able to get anything going offensively, especially on the passing side of the ball. And it's not on Justin Fields. I'm not going to blame Justin for that because whenever he had the opportunity to make that throw or that deep throw, he was doing it. I think it's just on calling it more consistently, being able to also get your wide receivers open. The Bears wide receivers, I feel like, get no separation against this Bucs defense, who has a very good front 7, who had a really good season last year of getting to the quarterback and getting to the quarterback at such a high level. Shaq Barrett last year was incredible. I expect all these guys to have great years, and not hopefully, I guess, but like they will have a good game and they will show out if needed against a rookie quarterback. And we've seen a lot of offensive lines, a lot of defensive lines take advantage of our offensive line. So I would not be surprised if their defensive line was able to do that. So you got to be careful about that if you're Justin Fields, and to make sure that you use the running game to our advantage, and then hopefully be able to get guys open downfield. Because once again, the Bears wide receivers suck at finding separation. I don't know what the statistic is on that, but last week against the Packers secondary that was decimated, the Bears wide receivers weren't able to find separation, and it did not make it easy for Justin at all. at times having to, try to guess where the wide receiver would run to. And we saw that end up pretty badly at times as well, as Allen Robinson wouldn't finish his route or I guess turn the other way around or something like that, just miscommunications. But, Bears wide receivers have to get separation, and Justin's got to hit him when he has the chance.
Yeah, the Buccaneers have one of the best defensive coordinators in the league in Todd Bowles, who
Exactly.
just got a 3-year extension. Bowles, not the greatest head coach in the league, but one of the best defensive coordinators in the league in terms of scheming a defense, for sure. The pressure is going to be coming at Fields this week. You've got to get it out quick if you're Justin, and that's going to be on his receivers, guys like Allen Robinson, who we're yet to see a big game from. Yes, I know Fields missed him on a deep touchdown. In Fields' defense, Robinson stopped running around midfield, about 30, 40 yards down the field midway through his route. But it's going to be on guys like Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, and I think we've seen a pretty good season from Mooney so far. He's putting up solid numbers, had another touchdown yesterday, but the Bears should be able to take advantage of this secondary. But once again, the question is going to be, can guys like Germain Ifedi, like Jason Peters, who have held up well against every team but the teams with the best pass rushers, like the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Rams, can those guys block, give Fields time, and can Fields receivers get separation? So let's move on to the final question before we close this one out. Do the Bears even have a chance here? I feel like that's the proper way to ask the question, because this Tampa Bay team is just so good, and even defensively, I know we're knocking them a lot. They've been really good against the run. Once again, kind of a similar situation to the Bears, where their front seven has been performing really well throughout 6 weeks, but they don't get much help from their secondary. I'm going to say this, and I'll make it pretty quick. I don't know if the Bears have a chance. I'm obviously, and I'll say this now because it's obvious, I'm going to pick the Bears to lose this week, but I'd like to see Justin Fields continue to implement the RPO this week. I think we've seen the Bears play calling be a little bit better since they went to Bill Lazor, but it's still not great. I mean, compared to other NFL teams, it's not good. But this week, if you take a look at what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do last week when they lost by 6 points and had a chance at the end to stop the Buccaneers, get the ball back, and possibly tie it up, you got to try and pull out, I guess what I would say, your inner Jalen Hurts. We saw him rush the ball 10 times for 44 yards, gashing the Buccaneers defense for 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground. So we have to see Fields continue to use his legs, especially against a team that's good defending the run. Also, you got to let him throw the ball deep. You got to continue to let Justin take the shots. He's going to mess up sometimes. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to turn the ball over. But last week we saw Devontae Smith with 15.5 yards per catch. Quez Watkins, the rookie for the Eagles, 14.7 yards per catch on 3 catches. Zach Ertz had a touchdown. We saw Fields connect a little bit last week with Cole Kmet. So you just got to let Justin Fields do his thing and see if he can help you be competitive in this one. The reason that the Bears turned to Justin Fields was because he gives them the best chance to win. So you got to let him do his thing. You got to absolutely unleash him. You can't hold him back and play tentative just because you're playing one of the best teams in the league. But I'd say I'll give the Bears a slim chance in this one. I just hope we can see a good game from Fields against a pretty good front seven, but a weaker secondary in Tampa Bay. So, Parth, I'm going to turn it to you before we close it off. Talk a little bit about what chance you think the Bears have here. Obviously, I think the expectation in Tampa Bay, the expectation in Chicago, the expectation nationwide is that the Bears are going to move to 3-4 and move into a game where they're going to have a grudge match against the San Francisco 49ers. But do you give them any chance of winning this one, and what do they have to do to accomplish that?
It's going to be tough, especially knowing how good this Tampa Bay team has been playing. And the Bears are obviously not a good team, but they're not a bad team. They're a team who
I'd call the Bears average. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was saying this to one of my buddies this morning. I said I think the Bears are maybe a slightly above average team. They'll be able to compete with the average teams. They'll be able to hang in there with some good teams, and they're going to beat the bad teams, but they're not competitors yet.
Nope, and it's going to take some time, especially when it starts with the development of Justin Fields. He's still a rookie quarterback, and it's going to take some time with the Bears offense trying to find its true identity. And even if that's with Matt Nagy or with Bill Lazor as play caller.
I hope it's without either of them in town.
Yeah, that's what I would hope as well. I saw a picture of Fields and Dable on Twitter, and I was interested about that. That would be a nice
tweet.
I'm just saying, this offense is definitely going to get better. Currently, the Bears, if you look at the total numbers, they're not pretty. We're still ranked bottom third, but almost.
I think bottom 10th in the league in offense. I think
we're ranked 30th in yards and 30th in points. The numbers are ugly, and it's year 4 with Matt Nagy here. But that's what I'm saying. To beat Tom Brady, you're gonna need to score points, and that's why I don't feel like the Bears don't have a chance in this game, just because it's hard to score 30 points for this offense. I don't think it hasn't been done in a very long time. I honestly don't remember the last game when we put up 30 points. And yeah, that's the whole point. The NFL has changed, and the Bears offense still has not. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, it seems like the Bears offense has remained the same since like what's got to be like when John Fox was around in like 2015, 2016, where the defense is great and the offense just can't seem to get it going. I like that Ryan Pace this offseason put an emphasis on improving the offense, but these are just the kind of things that take time. I'd feel a lot better about Chicago's chances if they have that same secondary from last year with Kyle
Yeah,
Fuller. He hasn't been playing the greatest this year.
maybe start Nick
Not gonna
Foles.
we're not gonna maybe bring out the special weapon, Big Nick. But if the Bears had the same secondary they had last year with Kyle Fuller playing good football, Jaylen Johnson at quarterback too, and the safeties playing a little bit better, I'd feel better about the Bears' opportunity in this one because I really do believe that the Bears have a solid defensive unit outside of maybe the secondary slipping up sometimes. But I think Tom Brady's going to have a field day with the secondary. Unfortunately, we saw Jaylen Johnson get picked on a little bit last week,
Yeah.
but he's still playing good throughout this season. But I think Tom Brady is absolutely going to have a field day. But we can root for Justin Fields to play some good football and maybe keep the Bears close. We saw Jalen Hurts almost lead a comeback there on Thursday Night Football in Week 6. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Meet the Opponents. Before you go, do us a favor if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, follow wherever you are listening. We're going to be bringing you content every day this week, covering the Bears and their game with the Buccaneers coming up in Week 7. If you want to find us, if you want more content from us, head to our website, beardown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs once again to get you guys ready for the Week 6 matchup. Week 7, geez, this season's moving quick. Week 7 matchup with the Buccaneers. If you want to find us on social media, we are giving away a Justin Fields jersey probably this week, actually. So do us a favor, head to Instagram and Twitter, follow us at Bear Down. We're going to be giving away a Fields jersey. That giveaway will be free to enter, so be sure to check us out on social media. It's also just a great way to see what we have going on. And finally, you can find the links to our personal social media pages down in the description. Myself as well as Parth, our Instagram and Twitter pages. It's another great way to interact with us, and you can see our thoughts on all things Bears, the NFL, and the entirety of Chicago sports. Parth, not the greatest day to be a Chicago fan yesterday, but the gold lining, I'll say the Bears losing was the silver lining because wasn't as close to as important as the Chicago Sky coming through, winning the WNBA title. We've got Bulls basketball starting up in, I believe, a day or two here. Any last words before we close off?
Yeah, like you said, Bulls basketball starting up. Congratulations to the Chicago Sky on winning the WNBA championship. And yeah, I guess the Bears we still got half a season to go. A lot can happen. I mean, I'm excited for what that happens. Sorry about your Iowa Hawkeyes this weekend. I guess
We don't talk about that either. Coming off of a week where the Bears had an upset win and Iowa beat Penn State, and I was just like, can please just one of them win this weekend after that Iowa game? I'm completely gutted. But
Yeah.
we still killed.
I mean, you guys killed us, and we lost
I
to
was about to
Michigan
say,
State.
still leaps and bounds better than your Hoosiers.
Yeah, and the worst part is you guys lost to Purdue. Like I was.
Oh
rooting
yeah,
for
no,
you guys
I
today,
didn't
so.
think Iowa was going to win out by any means. I thought
Uh-huh.
they were going to lose at some point. I mean, I think they had the golden goose in terms of just winning out, hopefully winning the Big Ten championship game, because I still think they're as good as any other team in the Big Ten when that offense is clicking. But I didn't think they were going to lose to Purdue. I thought it was going to be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, or at least a respectable opponent like Wisconsin or Minnesota.
Yeah, no. Spencer Petras definitely had a tough game, and I mean, it was
A
expected.
Mitch-like game. A Mitch-like game.
A Mitch-like game. We'll call it that. That's the last time we'll ever talk about. No, I'm just joking, Mitch.
We'll
But
never
yeah,
stop talking about Mitch.
the Bills are playing tonight. I think it's Bills and
Yeah,
Titans.
Who do you like? Bills, Titans tonight.
I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think the Bills are the best team in the NFL.
I'm going with them too. They're balling, man.
I think what Josh Allen has done is outstanding with that offense. I think Stephon Diggs is gonna have a big game. I don't think he's had a big game all year. Dawson Knox is someone who's had a really good season so far for the Buffalo Bills. I expect him to also play really good tonight. Derrick Henry, always fun to watch, so I'm excited for this.
Yeah, there's only so much Derrick Henry can do, though. I think the Titans are kind of having some offensive struggles too,
Yeah.
surrounding Ryan Tannehill. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great.
I mean,
So it should be a good game tonight. I mean, I love primetime football, so it should be fun watching, and just so much sports going on right now, and I can focus less and less on Iowa as I shift my focus more and more on the Bulls and the Blackhawks and everything going on. But that'll pretty much do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.